Hello, welcome to the Hypnosis Academy. Well, today I'm going to talk to you about something I was told a long time ago when I started learning therapy, and it was this, that a good therapist never finishes a process. What on earth does that mean? I didn't know what it meant when I heard it. I'll explain all about it on the other side. What happens is this: when you're learning therapy, then you go on courses and you learn a process. And they say, well, this process is to be used in this situation, and this process is to be used in this situation. So you get these blocks, yeah? Beginning, middle, end process. Beginning, middle, end. And that's how you use them. That's how I use them. So I would talk to somebody and I would say, oh, I know they need chair therapy. That's what they need, chair therapy. So that's what I'm going to do. And so I would do chair therapy, even when it was apparent that maybe I'd chosen the wrong thing, or maybe that wasn't quite, something else came up. I would do the chair therapy because I didn't have any flexibility, because that's what I was doing. That's what I've learned. Yeah. I remember talking to a guy who was an EMDR specialist. I was actually teaching him Spanish, but he did EMDR. He was a therapist. Yeah, EMDR is where you get people to follow a little end of your stick with the eyes, and you get them to, I mean, it's a brilliant technique. Beautiful. I learned eye movement integration, and it can do absolute miracles with people. Okay? But it doesn't work with everybody. And that's what he said to me. He said, Gordon, you do therapy. Just sometimes it doesn't work. Yeah. Now, he was limited when you learn these processes that have been patented or whatever you want to call it, copyrighted, or I don't know what the word is, but you're not allowed to change them. You're not allowed to do other stuff. Sometimes if you're that therapist, that's what you've got to do. I asked him, can you not do other stuff? He said, well, I'm not allowed to. I've got to stick within this. So it's very rigid, isn't it? That's why I would never, ever go into the officialdom of therapy, because I think then all creativity is lost. Just my opinion, of course. So as I was learning, one of my mentors said, the best therapists never finish a process. And at the time I thought, don't know what that means. Why would you just leave a process in the middle of it? That's it, we'll just finish it there, shall we? The person's crying their eyes out in the chair in hypnosis. You go, well, we'll finish it there because I want to be a good therapist and I'm not going to finish the process. That's not what he meant. What he was saying was this, that good therapists respond to the client. The client is always telling you what they need. They really are. I mean, it seems like a cliche, but the client is always telling you what they need, but not directly, as we talked about, because they don't know. But the unconscious mind is telling you over and over and over again. So what happens is this: you can start a process because that's the guidance that they've been giving you. You can start a process and then something comes up that is very big and very powerful. And what do? You mustn't ignore it as a therapist. You then have to take that as a guide, a message that you need to change the tack. We need to deal with this now. So quite often what I've done is I've been doing a process. Something's come up and I thought, ooh, can't miss that. That's a biggie. And so we'll divert the process and we'll do another process. And then sometimes we might even come back and finish the process that we started, or sometimes not. Or we might convert the new process into a fusion of the two. So there are lots of things you can do that you can be flexible. However, if you've only got a hammer, that's the only tool that you're going to use. Just a hammer. Yeah, so, a hammer works beautifully sometimes, and other times it doesn't. And so what my advice to you is, that if you've chosen to go down the route of being a therapist, then you really, really ought to get as many tools as you can. And don't think for a moment that just because something is very, very specific, that it's probably not, well, how often would I have that? That it's not worth learning. Absolutely. What happens is this: the more tools that you have in your toolbox, the more flexibility you have. And sometimes what you realize is that a tool, a hammer, can be adapted to be something completely different. You can use a hammer to keep a door open. So to crush nuts, yeah, you can use a hammer for lots of things. And this is what happens: the more tools you've got, the more you can say, hang on a minute, I think I'm going to use this, but I'm going to develop it in a different way. Yeah. I remember working with a client once, and she wanted to get pregnant. She really wanted to get pregnant, but it wasn't happening. And she was getting older, and it wasn't happening. And so we worked together on various things. But what was very clear is that in her process of trying to get pregnant, she'd had many miscarriages, many. And when we were working through something, this came up as like, this is a mega thing for her, mega. And so I switched the process, and we actually got all of the babies in front of her, in front of her, appearing, and she was able to talk to all of them and send her love and say she was sorry that it didn't work out, and they told her that it was okay and that everything was all right and they were in a beautiful place. It was a very beautiful process, but that wasn't what I was doing. It was just something that I thought, we've got to deal with this. What the outcome of that was, that at the end she kind of was able to come to terms with the fact that maybe she wasn't going to be a mum herself, and she actually came up with the idea of, maybe she had the opportunity of being like a surrogate mum to other people, and that was what she was going to do. Now, what happens with that kind of thing, when you can give somebody, when it comes up and you go, that has to be dealt with, it has to be, it, you deal with it. That's how you become a good therapist, rather than saying, well, I'll ignore that for the moment, we'll finish the process, and then, no, go for it. But get as many tools as you can. Okay? The more tools, the better the therapist you are, as long as you are able to mix them all up and become as flexible as possible. Okay? Remember, nobody, as far as I know, has died in hypnosis. You really can't do anybody damage. If you've got the right opinion, if you've got the right outlook and the right intention, no matter what you do, if it's for the right intention, you'll leave them in a better place. Okay? Well, as long as you don't, do something really bad. But I know you wouldn't anyway. So, there you are. Fill your toolbox up and get as flexible as you can. And don't be frightened to jump track if you need to. Your client will tell you. All right. Have a lovely day. I'll see you all later.